Welcome again to your First 20. We're going to continue on as we talk about the gospel. We focus on the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. And this week we're focusing on the resurrection, that Jesus rose from the dead. He conquered death. He's victorious. And in the same way that he went from death to life at the burial and then the resurrection, this is what he does in our lives. He takes us from death to life. He rescues us. He saves us. And ultimately we'll be with him forever. Yesterday I shared Mark chapter 16 with you, and I want to continue on in that passage. Let me read a little bit of it, and then I want to share something so powerful with you to help you start your first 20. In verse 5 it says, "When they entered the tomb, they saw a young man clothed in a white robe sitting on the right side." These are the women who go to the tomb expecting to see Jesus' body there, and they don't find it. The women are shocked. But the angel said, "Don't be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He isn't here. He is risen from the dead. Look, this is where they laid his body." Now catch these words from this angel of the Lord. "Now go and tell his disciples, including Peter, that Jesus is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there, just as he told you before he died." I love that the angel specifically calls out Peter. He says, "I want you to go and tell his disciples and Peter." Now remember what Peter had just done. Peter had just denied Jesus 3 times. You know, we have this thinking in our heads that when we mess up, that somehow God doesn't and isn't able to forgive us of our sin. Why would he want me? I'm not worthy. Yet here in this story, right after his death, the angel saying, this is an important word, even though Peter messed up, royally messed up, 3 times messed up, I want you to make sure he knows too that Jesus is alive. I want you to go gather up Peter too, because Jesus wants to encounter him. Jesus wants to meet with him. Jesus wants to encounter him with his grace and his love, and he wants to set him on fire to be a trailblazer, a world changer for the church. That's exactly what he does. We'll read later on how Jesus meets Peter on the shore. Peter jumps out into the water from the boat where he was fishing, back doing what he was used to doing. And he meets Jesus on the shore, and Jesus says, "Do you love me? Yes, I love you. Then feed my sheep. Do you love me? Yes, I love you. Then feed my sheep. Do you love me? Yes, I love you. Then feed my sheep." With those 3 denials, Jesus takes these 3 statements and asks Peter in order to reinstate him back in alignment with him. I wonder, do you think that your failure has discounted you from the work of God? Do you think that your mistakes have discounted you, discredited you from being in the presence of God? It's just not true. How do we know that? Because specifically, the angel of the Lord said, oh yeah, and Peter too. Don't forget Peter. You might think that the Lord was done with Peter, upset with Peter, that he had no place for Peter. But no, I want you to go get Peter too. And that's what I believe the Lord is be saying about each and every one of us. Yeah, and get Brian too. Get Sally too. Get Sue too. Get John too. Make sure to get them, even though they've messed up, even though they've had failures along the way, even though there have been bumps on the journey. I want to reinstate them in what I'm doing. This is our Jesus. He takes what's dead and he brings it alive. This is the resurrection story. I pray that the Lord would encounter you in intimate and life-changing ways as you meet with him.